This is the story of Joseph. The birth, the dreams, the betrayal. Watch till the end while I take you through the journey of the past.
In the land of Canaan, where ancient tents dotted the hills and flocks grazed beneath wide open skies, there lived a man named Jacob. He was no ordinary man. Jacob was the son of Isaac and the grandson of Abraham, the man to whom God had promised descendants as countless as the stars. Jacob had 12 sons, but among them all, one stood apart. His name was Joseph. Joseph was born to Jacob in his old age, the first son of Rachel, the woman Jacob had loved for many years. Because of this, Jacob's heart leaned toward Joseph more deeply than toward his other sons, and everyone could see it. Jacob made Joseph a special robe, long, finely crafted, and richly colored. It was not a garment for labor. It was a garment of favor, of distinction. Every time Joseph wore it, it spoke silently of his father's love and of his brother's resentment. Joseph was young, still learning the ways of the world, but something about him was different. His eyes often lingered on the horizon, as though he sensed a future beyond the hills of Canaan. One night, Joseph dreamed. He saw himself and his brothers in a field, binding sheaves of grain. Suddenly, Joseph's sheaf stood upright, while the sheaves of his brothers gathered around and bowed low before it. Joseph awoke, his heart pounding, and he told his brothers. Their reaction was immediate and fierce. "Do you think you will rule over us?" they demanded. "Do you believe we will bow to you?" Their hatred deepened. But the dreams did not stop. Another night, Joseph dreamed again. This time, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed before him. When he told this dream, not only to his brothers, but to his father, Jacob rebuked him. "Shall your mother and I and your brothers truly bow before you?" Yet something stirred within Jacob. He kept the matter in his heart. Joseph, meanwhile, remained unaware of the storm growing around him. His brothers already despised him for their father's love. Now his dreams made them fear and envy him even more. And envy, once planted, grows quickly. As the days passed, Joseph had no idea that the dreams he spoke so freely were quietly setting the stage for betrayal. And far from understanding his destiny, Joseph was about to be torn away from everything he had ever known.
"Brothers, my dreams foretell a great destiny." The sheaves bowed again. "They mean nothing. You will see, they will come true."
Betrayal by brothers and the journey to Egypt. One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers who were grazing their flocks far from home. Joseph set out, wearing his long robe, unaware that each step drew him closer to danger. From a distance, his brothers saw him coming. "There comes the dreamer," they said to one another, and in that moment their hearts hardened. "Let us kill him," some said, "and throw him into one of these pits. Then we will see what becomes of his dreams." But Reuben, the eldest, intervened. He urged them not to shed blood, hoping to rescue Joseph later. So instead, they seized him, stripped him of his robe, and threw him into an empty pit. Joseph cried out, but no one answered. As he lay there in darkness, the brothers sat down to eat, their hearts unmoved. Then, in the distance, they saw a caravan approaching, merchants traveling to Egypt. Judah spoke up, "What profit is there if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him instead." And so they did. Joseph was pulled from the pit, not to be saved, but to be sold. Bound and carried away, Joseph watched his brothers fade into the distance. The land of promise disappeared behind him as Egypt, unknown and unforgiving, lay ahead. The brothers dipped Joseph's robe in goat's blood and brought it to Jacob. "Is this your son's robe?" they asked. Jacob recognized it instantly. "My son, a wild animal has devoured him." Jacob tore his clothes and mourned for days. But Joseph was not dead. He was alive, chained, frightened, alone, and on his way into slavery. But even as Joseph's past was stripped from him, a future he could not imagine was drawing near. Joseph in Potiphar's house. Egypt rose before Joseph like another world, towering structures, foreign tongues, strange gods. The scent of power and danger filled the air. Joseph was sold to a man named Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and captain of the guard. From the outside, it seemed Joseph had fallen from favor entirely, but unseen to human eyes, something remarkable was happening. The Lord was with Joseph. Whatever Joseph did prospered. His work was careful, his spirit steady. Potiphar noticed. Soon Joseph was placed over Potiphar's entire household. Nothing was withheld from him except his master's wife. Joseph grew strong and capable, and he was handsome in form and appearance. Potiphar's wife noticed. Day after day she spoke to him, "Lie with me." But Joseph refused. "How could I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" he said. He did not speak from fear of punishment, but from loyalty, both to his master and to the God who watched his steps. One day, when no one else was in the house, she grabbed his garment and demanded again. Joseph fled, leaving the garment behind. Humiliated and enraged, she cried out and accused him falsely. Potiphar believed her. Joseph was seized and thrown into prison, a place where the king's prisoners were confined. Once again, Joseph lost everything: status, trust, freedom. Yet even in chains, the Lord remained with him, and the prison walls were about to witness a turning point that Joseph himself could not yet see.
The prison was cold, dark, and unyielding. For Joseph, it may have felt like the final betrayal, punished for righteousness, suffering for doing what was right. But the Lord did not abandon him. Joseph found favor even there. The chief jailer trusted him and placed him over the other prisoners. Joseph served quietly, faithfully, with dignity forged through pain. Time passed. Then one night, two prisoners had dreams. They were no ordinary prisoners, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker of Pharaoh himself. Both were troubled, unable to understand what they had seen in their sleep. Joseph noticed their distress. "Do not interpretations belong to God?" he said. "Tell me your dreams." The cupbearer dreamed of a vine with 3 branches, budding and bearing grapes, which he pressed into Pharaoh's cup. Joseph interpreted it. In 3 days, the cupbearer would be restored to his position. The baker dreamed of baskets of bread, with birds eating from the top basket. Joseph spoke gently but truthfully. In 3 days, the baker would be executed. And so it happened. Before the cupbearer was restored, Joseph asked only one thing: "Remember me when it goes well with you." But memory is fragile when comfort returns. And Joseph was forgotten, left behind once more, waiting, wondering if deliverance would ever come. Dreams in prison and forgotten hope. Days turned into months, months into years. Joseph remained in prison. No message came, no rescue arrived. The cupbearer forgot him. Silence settled heavily around Joseph, a silence broken only by iron doors and distant echoes. But silence did not mean absence. God was still working. 2 years passed. Then Pharaoh, king of Egypt, dreamed. He stood by the Nile and saw 7 healthy cows devoured by 7 gaunt ones. Yet the thin cows remained thin. Another dream followed. 7 full ears of grain swallowed by 7 scorched ones. Pharaoh awoke trembling. None of Egypt's wise men could interpret the dreams. Then, suddenly, memory returned. "I remember my faults today," the cupbearer said, and he spoke of Joseph. Joseph was summoned from prison, shaved, changed, brought before Pharaoh. A moment that had taken years to prepare, and Joseph was about to speak words that would reshape the destiny of nations.
Pharaoh's dreams described. Joseph listened carefully. Then he spoke, not claiming wisdom of his own. "It is not in me. God will give Pharaoh an answer." Joseph explained 7 years of abundance would come upon Egypt, followed by 7 years of devastating famine. Only wise preparation would preserve life. Joseph advised Pharaoh to appoint a discerning leader to store grain during the years of plenty. Pharaoh looked at Joseph. "Can we find anyone like this man, in whom is the Spirit of God?" In one breathtaking moment, Joseph was raised from prisoner to ruler, second only to Pharaoh himself. Given new garments, a signet ring, authority. Joseph was 30 years old. The dreams of his youth had not died. They had waited. And now, the world would soon bow, not to Joseph's ego, but to the purpose God had written long before. Famine, destiny, and the return of his brothers. The famine spread beyond Egypt, into Canaan. Jacob sent his sons to Egypt for grain. All went, except Benjamin. Joseph saw his brothers arrive. They bowed before him, but they did not recognize him. Joseph recognized them instantly. The dream had come true. Yet Joseph did not reveal himself, not yet. He tested them, questioned them, accused them. He wanted to know, had they changed? When Judah offered himself in place of Benjamin, something broke inside Joseph. The brothers were no longer the same men, and Joseph's heart could no longer remain hidden. The moment of truth had arrived, and with it, a reckoning years in the making. Joseph reveals himself and tests their hearts. Joseph sent everyone out of the room. Then he wept loudly. "I am Joseph," he said. "Is my father still alive?" Terror fell upon his brothers, but Joseph stepped closer. "Do not be distressed. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." He embraced them. Forgiveness replaced fear. The past no longer ruled the present, and reconciliation began to heal wounds decades old. Redemption, forgiveness, and God's greater plan. Jacob came to Egypt. He saw Joseph alive. God fulfilled his promises. Years later, Jacob died, and the brothers feared revenge. But Joseph spoke words that still echo today. "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive." Joseph died in Egypt, but not in despair. He believed God would one day return his people to the Promised Land, and centuries later they would. The story of Joseph is not simply a story of suffering or success. It is the story of a destiny shaped through pain, preserved through faith, and fulfilled through forgiveness. What was broken became a blessing. What was stolen became salvation, and what seemed forgotten was never out of God's sight. Because when God is writing the story, no chapter is wasted.